In the meanwhile, it has been a busy morning with school starting, and, you've probably seen school buses out. Young ones are running around getting ready to be where they need to be today. And with that comes some cursory reminders about safety. And here to help us with that, the Battle Creek Police Chief, Jim Blocker. Good morning, Chief.
Hey, and good morning. Good to be here.
Also today, the Sheriff, Matt Saxton, is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Richard.
And also with us today, Sergeant William Gensch, helping us with the reminders as well. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning. Thank you.
Cast of thousands today.
That's right.
Chief Blocker's just back from very important duty this morning. As many community dignitaries are asked to do, you were greeting students this morning.
That's right. This morning I was at Battle Creek Central, and I got to tell you, it looked, as the students were walking towards the front door, it looked like the attack of the zombies, really. But what was exciting is as soon as they came through that door, they would light up. They'd see not just us, but they'd certainly look beyond us into the sea of friends out there. And there's nothing but smiles and hugs and a lot of enthusiasm this morning. And I think it's an excellent start to a school year. And I think that's a great place to start in our conversation this morning, reminding everybody that it is a little bit like zombie land out on the streets. And certainly as dark as it is. And so, again, extra vigilance as our drivers are commuting back and forth to work, and kids are being dropped off, and kids are walking to school. These are all the things that we and the Sheriff and Sergeant Gensch want to focus on this morning.
Right. And, Sheriff, you were out and about this morning, too, from the perspective that Chief Blocker was just talking about, keeping an eye on all the activity out there.
Right. It's this time of year. Everybody's not used to all the bus stops and the normal day-to-day activity of the start of the school year. We have some 20,000 students that attend school each day within Calhoun County.
Wow.
So all those have to get to school somehow, whether it's walking, school bus, dropped off by a parent or guardian. So there's a lot of safety things to keep in mind, not just on the first day of school, but the rest of the school year, because we want all 20,000 of those students to be safe and get a good education.
Right, and when we come back in a minute, Sergeant Gensch will put some of those ideas in our heads about those safety reminders. And, we have to remember, I suppose, if there's an overarching comment we could make at this point, that those 20,000 of them, with all the activity going on and excitement, safety sometimes might not be the first thing in mind. And so we have to make sure we have safety in mind in case they don't. And we'll talk more about that coming up in just a minute on WBCK. Keeping in mind matters of safety as it relates to back to school with Chief Jim Blocker and Sheriff Matt Saxton, and Sergeant William Gensch is here. And you came prepared with a list of specific things we should keep in mind. What are some of those things on that list?
Well, there are several specific things, but in general, we are here to talk about safety. We want to make sure our kids are safe. And to get there and to get them to the school bus stop safely, we want to make sure maybe they're not wearing their headphones. A lot of times you got these kids, and then everyone has a phone these days. They're either listening to their music on their headphones or playing games, or maybe not paying attention to the traffic or the area around them. So one good tip is to maybe not have your headphones in until you get to the bus stop or until you get on the bus.
Boy, headphones are like part of our wardrobe now.
Exactly. Yeah, and everyone has them, and it seems like they're just everywhere.
And something might be happening, and if we don't hear it, we won't know.
That's correct. And with the drivers that are used to driving back and forth to work without the kids walking around, they need to be more, conscious of the kids that are walking, and the kids need to be able to hear the traffic also, so that they can kind of watch out for each other.
All right. What else?
Let me see. Another thing that we can do, or that the parents can do to make sure that the kids get there safely and on time, is to leave early. When they leave early to head to the bus stop so that they don't miss the bus. Bus drivers are getting used to their routes at the beginning of the school year. Sometimes they might be really early. Sometimes they might be late. So if the kids are leaving on time or leaving early, they're going to get to the bus stop on time and not miss that bus. That's really important also.
Good point. All right. Others?
Let me see.
And, another opportunity is also for parents to be vigilant. Kids are not used to crossing the street. They've been running around all summer. Make sure they're supervised and parents are paying attention to cars driving back and forth because it is their responsibility. These first few weeks, we're all going to have to be extra patient and vigilant. The kids are just getting used to this operational tempo of going back to school and getting up early. And we know how that works. There are going to be peaks and valleys. It's exciting for the first few days. It's going to be tedious and boring here in the next few days. So, again, everyone needs to pay attention. Even this morning, we saw young people running across the street, and it's like deer running across the street. And they are completely focused on themselves and school, and it's exciting. They're not really focused on traffic. So, again, that's something to be extra cautious and vigilant about.
See a little of that this morning, did you?
Yes, but in this day and age, so many more kids are dropped off at school than busing or walking. So every school district has a drop-off plan. And I urge parents and students to follow that drop-off plan. It's set up for a reason. If it does take an extra minute, the safety of your kid is more important than that extra minute that you're going to get somewhere. Mm-hmm. We had a tragic event at the end of last school year with a student that the person picking up didn't follow the pickup guidelines, and the student ran across the roadway to the awaiting pickup vehicle and was struck while crossing the road. So those are in place for a reason. I know as a parent, I know sometimes it seems like they could do it better, but the sheriff's office, city PD, work with all the school districts to set up those plans is the safest way to get students to and from school.
Yeah, I would imagine those plans try to involve a protocol where your students don't have to cross the street. But, of course, we all have to wait our turn to get to that position.
And you know what? They're in and out within 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, it's not that much time. Extra minute or extra minute and a half to drop your kid off appropriately and keep your kid safe. And we also have a whole new batch of 16-year-old drivers that are driving to school for the first time ever. So, there's buses, there's new drivers on the road. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to be more vigilant, pay attention to your surroundings, and keep everybody safe.
We're talking about school safety here on the first day of school, and we'll continue here in just a second. A few more minutes here with the Sheriff, Matt Saxton, Police Chief Jim Blocker, and Sergeant William Gensch, Battle Creek Police. Back to school safety. One thing we haven't talked about yet are buses and the notion that we do need to adhere to the signs we see and lights we see.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The traffic enforcement right now is going to be beefed up a little bit around school zones. I want to remind motorists and drivers that they need to slow down, pay attention. The speed limit drops right there, and if they're not paying attention, they go around a bus that has its flashing yellow or red lights on. They're probably going to be caught on camera from that bus. These buses are equipped these days with cameras, and their license plate will probably be recorded. Wow. And they turn that over to the police department.
Boy, that's like going through a toll booth. You're going to get a picture. Huh?
Yeah, and it's a pretty stiff fine, too, and a misdemeanor. So it's something that they really want to pay attention to and really slow down and kind of keep their heads up through those school zones.
I was talking about the first day of school earlier because when I went to school the first day, I stayed on the bus when I got home. I got to the stop, and my mother wasn't standing there, so I thought I was supposed to stay. And so I kept riding. These days with cameras and things, anybody left on the bus will be seen. Anybody around the bus who goes around it will be seen.
Yeah, that's correct.
You're on camera. Wow. And Chief Blocker, you made a comment during the break there that these signs on buses and lights should be considered like a traffic signal or a road sign.
That's exactly right. Matter of fact, they're not only considered a traffic control device, whether it's yellow or red, which is essentially the same violation if you violate it, or that stop sign that folds out. It's a misdemeanor. As Sergeant Gensch said, it's 4 points and $200 fine. And I got to tell you, once we see that recorded picture and that driver is willing to say, yeah, that's the car, it's prima facie. There's really not much more beyond that we need to go ahead and cite you, and then it's a court appearance from there.
Wow, 4 points, too.
So we take it seriously. The law takes it seriously. Why? Because we value these young people. We value the system. And again, we want to move forward in this school year. Let's get off on the right foot. Being late is okay. It's a good excuse in this time of year because we certainly don't need an accident, because no matter what, it's an accident.
Yeah.
It'll be a tragedy nevertheless.
And then after you face that music, you get to talk to your insurance agent about 4 points. Yikes. So at this time of year, too, back to school for law enforcement brings with it some considerations about safety and being attentive and things like that, right?
Yes, Richard. We want to make sure our kids get to school safe, but once they're there, we want to make sure they're safe as well. And everybody in the community has to take a part of keeping our schools safe. It goes back to the old saying, if you see something, say something. Oftentimes we've seen in the past where there's been social media posts about something going on at the school. Every one of those that we get notified of, we look into, make sure it's not going to affect the safety of the kids. We work with every school district throughout the county, and our number one priority is the safety of the students and the staff and the public that use our school buildings throughout the county.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes folks, parents maybe might see something on social media and maybe they're not clear if that's a threat or not. You're saying, tell us anyway.
If you see something, say something. If we don't know about it in law enforcement, whether it's Battle Creek City, county, state, say something to somebody, even the school district, and they're good about getting with us or the city. I can't say it enough. I mean, the students, the staff, and the public using those facilities are our number one priority. We have to have kids get a good education to have a strong community and move forward here in Calhoun County.
All right. You talked about school zones. Is that an immediate border around a school area that is generally with a reduced speed limit and so on, or is it broader than that?
Well, I mean, you're going to see the signs. You know, the lights are going to be out there flashing. It's going to say speed limit 25. You know, it's kind of like, that's why you got to really pay attention.
Yep.
You're used to maybe going faster through those areas when kids aren't in school, and now you're going to start seeing the signs. And as long as you're paying attention when you're driving, slow down, be safe, kind of look out for the kids. And if you're not,
you will be.
Yes, you're probably going to get pulled over.
Yeah.
Some of those school speed zones they're different throughout the school districts.
Okay.
You know, some of the rural area ones are marked reduced speed when students present, which means half hour prior to start of school to a half hour after, and then the same thing at the end of the day.
Okay.
And those should be marked on those signs. And every school zone has to be marked as to what the speed limit is, what time it's in effect. And we are, as Chief said and Sergeant Gensch, we do have extra patrols out for school zone infractions.
Okay.
And I want to cover real quick, too, not only we talked about the buses and the flashing the lights and the signs and the speed zones, but we're going to have crossing guards out there as well. They'll have a reflective vest on. They hold a portable stop sign. Pay attention to them as well. That also is a traffic control device, but
Right.
With a person underneath it. So, again, typically they are near busier school districts, certainly around the elementary schools. And, again, young children needing assistance crossing the street to go to these schools. It's all, again, about the safety of the students and our public.
Mm-hmm. Yes, those stop signs they hold look like real stop signs because they are. So that makes sense. Thanks to all of you for the reminders today. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Richard.